It's 3 a.m. You are lying there staring at the ceiling and that voice won't stop. You are not enough. You never were. Everyone can see through you. You are fooling no one. The words slice through you like cold steel. Each syllable becomes a verdict you cannot appeal. This is the cruelest betrayal of all. When your own mind becomes the prosecutor, judge, and executioner all at once. You know this voice intimately. It has been with you longer than any friend, more persistent than any lover. It whispers in your failures. It screams in your silence, and it never grants you mercy. But here is what the ancients knew, what Marcus Aurelius understood as he led an empire while battling his own mind. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That cruel voice is not you. It is not truth. It is not prophecy. It is just noise. But we have been conditioned to believe that our thoughts are sacred, that every mental whisper carries the weight of revelation. We have confused the mind's chatter with our identity. We have mistaken the critic's voice for wisdom. This is where we go wrong. Believing that because we think something, it must be true. That because the voice sounds like us, it must be us. But Epictetus knew something about suffering. He lived as a slave before becoming free. He taught us differently. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The same applies to the thoughts that happen to you. You did not choose that first cruel thought. You did not summon that initial criticism. It simply appeared. Like a bird landing on your windowsill, you can observe it without feeding it. You can watch it without inviting it in. The Stoics called this the discipline of perception, the radical act of stepping back from your own experience and asking questions. Is this thought useful? Is it true? Is it kind? And if not, why am I lending it my attention? Think of your mind as a vast theater. Thoughts are actors who stride onto the stage. They demand your attention. They insist on their importance. The cruel voice is just one performer, often the loudest, usually the most dramatic, but still just one actor in a play you do not have to watch. Marcus Aurelius knew this intimately. Here was a man who commanded legions, who held the fate of nations in his hands. Yet he wrote to himself about something deeper. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. He was not talking about positive thinking or forced optimism. He was talking about sovereignty, the recognition that you are not the prisoner of your thoughts but their witness. You are not the voice. You are the space in which the voice appears. When you realize this, something profound shifts. The cruel words do not disappear. They may never fully disappear. But they lose their authority. They become like rain on the roof. You can hear it, but you do not have to get wet. But here is what nobody tells you about this journey. It is not about silencing the voice, it is about changing your relationship to it. When you stop fighting the critic, something miraculous happens. When you stop trying to argue with it or prove it wrong, it begins to lose interest. Critics thrive on engagement. They feed on your distress. They grow stronger with your attention. They multiply in your resistance. But when you observe them with the calm detachment of a scientist studying an interesting phenomenon, they begin to quiet. This is the Stoic practice of continuous attention to the present moment. Awareness of your mental processes without being consumed by them. You begin to notice patterns. When does the cruel voice speak loudest? What triggers its appearance? What stories does it tell? And in that noticing, you find space. Space between stimulus and response. Space between thought and belief. Space between the voice and your true self. Seneca understood this when he wrote these words. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. The end of believing every thought you think is the beginning of mental freedom. The end of identifying with your inner critic is the beginning of self-compassion. But this work requires patience. This sacred work takes time. You have been listening to that voice for years, maybe decades. You have built your identity around its verdicts. You have shaped your choices by its harsh counsel. Undoing this conditioning does not happen overnight. It happens in moments. Moments when you catch yourself believing the lie and gently remind yourself, this is just a thought. Not truth, not me, just weather passing through. Moments when you choose curiosity over judgment, observation over absorption, space over suffocation. The Stoics called this state serene calmness, untroubled by external or internal storms. Not because the storms do not come, but because you have learned to be the mountain rather than the weather. You have learned to be the sky rather than the clouds. Here is what changes when you master this. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop seeking permission to be human. You stop waiting for the voice to grant you worthiness. Because you finally understand something profound. Worthiness is not earned through perfect thoughts or flawless performance. It is your birthright. It is written into the very fabric of your existence. The cruel voice will tell you otherwise. It will insist that you are broken, that you need fixing, that you are fundamentally flawed. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that everyone struggles with their own mind. Everyone faces this battle. The difference between suffering and freedom is not the absence of cruel thoughts. It is the recognition that thoughts are just thoughts, that you are vast enough to contain multitudes, wise enough to discern truth, strong enough to choose what deserves your attention. When you stop fighting the cruel voice and start observing it, something beautiful happens. When you stop feeding it with your distress and start greeting it with curious detachment, you discover something remarkable. Beneath the critic, beneath the harsh judge, beneath all the noise, there is a deeper voice, quieter, kinder, truer. It has been there all along, waiting patiently for you to remember that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes them. You are not the voice. You are the listening. And in that listening, in that sacred space of conscious observation, you find what you have been seeking all along. Peace. Not the peace of a silenced mind, but the peace of understanding that you were never at war with yourself. You were just confused about who you are. The cruel voice will speak again. Probably tomorrow, maybe in an hour. But now you know the secret. You do not have to listen. You do not have to believe. You do not have to obey. You can simply notice, nod with ancient wisdom, and remember this truth. You are the sky. The weather just passes through. And that changes everything.